Where have you resisted necessary change? Where have you clung to familiarity out of fear of instability? Where have you felt like maybe you're stuck in a rut? Where have you felt stale or stagnant? Well, hello there, and welcome to the Cosmic Cannibal podcast, your weekly report on all things astrology, from zodiac signs and planets to transits and horoscopes. I'm your host, Camille, aka Cosmic Cannibal, aka your friendly neighborhood Gemini and connoisseur of all things astrological, here to debunk and demystify astrology so that you can actually understand it and then work with it. And today, I've got your 411 on what might be the most untalked about transit of the new year, Uranus Direct. Now, before we get started on Uranus, you want to give this video a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to know when the next astrological insight drops. And, it would help me so much if you shared this video with your friends who might want to know what Uranus Direct has in store for them. Change, disruption, shakeups, wake-ups. These are just some of the words I like to use when describing Uranus. Why? Because Uranus is the cosmic rabble-rouser and part-time astro troublemaker who thrives on breaking rules and shattering traditions. Uranus loves to disrupt the status quo. It loves to shake up what's stale, turn things on their head, all in the name of change. This year, you are going to be hearing a lot about Uranus, mostly because the outer planet of chaos is shifting signs for the first time in 7 years. Talk about a change, right? But, and maybe also, speaking of change, Uranus officially stationed direct on January 30th, meaning it has ended its 5-month-long retrograde through Taurus. Now, this is big news. It's big news for all of us. It's big news for fixed signs, really big news for Taurus. It's big news for Leo because, hey, everything's big news for Leo. But it's big because it means that radical change is about to erupt. As I wrote in one of my articles on my Substack, Everything You Need to Know About Uranus in Taurus, as the planet of disruption, revolution, and innovation, Uranus wants to shake you up, wake you up, and free you from the outdated patterns, relationships, and goals that have been stagnant. Because stagnation, tradition, and the status quo are always prime targets for Uranus's shocking energy. Now, that's kind of different when Uranus is retrograde, and Uranus has been retrograde since September. So when Uranus is in that retrograde period, and it does that for about 5 months, all that destabilizing, shocking energy, it doesn't really flow as easily. It's not as noticeable. Now, that doesn't mean that Uranus stops being Uranus and it stops bringing out of the blue jolts to your life and to the world around us. Instead, Uranus retrograde turns much of the rabble-rouser's energy inward. So since September, you've likely been reflecting on the disruptions in your life, what they mean, why they came, what to do next, as well as the lack of stability you may have encountered over the past 5 months and where you might be feeling blocked. There's a lot of different ways that Uranus retrograde can land for you. It depends on where Taurus is in your chart, of course. But I want to talk a little bit about the myth behind Uranus and how resistance actually leads to revolution. And it's that resistance that we feel during the retrograde period. So in Greek mythology, Uranus, or Uranos, was the primordial sky god. He was overthrown by his son Kronos, Saturn, for his refusal to allow change. Uranus tried to control fate, suppressing his children out of fear of upheaval, but ultimately his resistance led to his downfall. Now, this is the essence of Uranus in astrology. You can resist change, right? But that only makes the inevitable shift more disruptive when it finally arrives. When Uranus stations direct, this myth plays out in real time because the areas where we have clung to comfort, clung to routine, clung to outdated structures, especially in the Taurus-ruled area of your life, realms of security, finances, material possessions, stability, all of that fun stuff, they are now under the pressure of cosmic upheaval. So since September 2024, Uranus was in that retrograde period. It's slow cooking changes beneath the surface. But now, boom, the lid is off. Uranus Direct, it's like an alarm clock that suddenly jolts you awake from a deep slumber. As the planet wraps up its reflective retrograde and moves forward, it can erupt change that is at once disruptive, shocking, destabilizing, and just sort of in your face. Uranus is never quiet. Uranus is very loud. It's like a thunderclap or a really loud tambourine. I think I meant cymbal crash, but tambourines can be really loud and disruptive and annoying, and harmonicas too. Anyway, it might not happen right away, this disruptive, shocking, destabilizing change, but that's because we have that like post-retrograde shadow phase. But you can still expect bigger changes to start unfolding now that Uranus is officially direct. Collectively, this means radical changes, so shifts in structure, shifts in the economy, shifts in technology, shifts in agriculture are all on the menu. But this impacts you personally too, because Uranus is currently, again, earthquaking the part of your chart ruled by Taurus. So that shift you've been resisting, the change you've been avoiding, the quantum leap you've been wanting to take but haven't actually taken because it's, quantum and radical and seemingly ridiculous. It's here and it's demanding your attention. It can often feel like Uranus is out to get us, or it's just deliberately making a mess of life. And that's certainly true in the way that astrology portrays Uranus. It aligns with the inherent nature of the planet because the planet wants to upset the apple cart. But I don't want you to think of Uranus Direct strictly as being just a chaotic transit. Yes, we are often shaken by Uranus transits because they seem to cause sudden changes that we aren't ready for. But that disruptive energy actually serves a greater purpose because Uranus is also an illuminator. It's an innovator. Its transits can shine what might feel like a really unignorable light on innovative paths, urging you towards unconventional breakthroughs, unconventional paths, doing something different. So in its simplest, rawest form, Uranus and Uranus Direct actually fosters meaningful changes. Sometimes most change is just scary because it's like nobody wants to change. This is especially true as Uranus has been moving through Taurus because Taurus freaking hate changes. But I'm talking about Taurus the sign, not Taurus as people, although they resist change too. I'm thinking more about just when we hear the word change, we can sometimes cringe or we sometimes get scared because it's like, I don't want things to change. I'm not saying that Uranus Direct is just all of a sudden going to be like, hey, guess what? Like flipping your life 180. It's more just like now's the time to take change. So instead of thinking that because Uranus is direct, it's no longer retrograde, the planet is just suddenly going to bring so many changes to your life, I would encourage you to flip the script. Like that's how we work with Uranus, right? Let's turn that whole like stereotype on its head. And let's work with this astrology in a more proactive and productive, constructive way. Allow changes to happen for you. How do you do that? Well, let's be open to change. Let's be open to innovation. Let's be open to a little bit of interruptions. I think some of those are going to play out for us collectively, and we're going to have no choice but to surrender to them, to be open to them, because they're going to be happening in ways that feel sort of out of our control. But for you personally, the best way to work with Uranus's energy and Uranus Direct is thinking of it as a chance to enact the changes that you need to make. This is the time to take the quantum leap, to do something differently. Remember what I said before, that shift you've been resisting, the change you've been avoiding, the quantum leap you've been wanting to take but haven't actually taken because it's radical and ridiculous and a quantum fucking leap and it's scary and like you don't know what's on the other side. Well, that's demanding your attention and it's demanding your action. Because Uranus is the planet of radical change. It's the planet of abrupt change, advances, breakthroughs, giant strides, leaps and bounds, and big, loud disruptions. So where Uranus moves through your chart, Each time Uranus enters a new sign and moves through your chart, that's where you're going to experience some instability and unsettling shifts. Right now, it's in Taurus. And right now, that is the same area of your life where, as much as you might be losing some solid ground, or you're feeling like, okay, I cannot get my head straight about this, or I just cannot gain traction, or I go in this direction and it ends up leading me over here, or I thought I was doing this and then I ended up doing XYZ. This is the same area of your life where you're being called to disrupt the status quo and innovate. Now, that can sound sort of big and bold and like, well, what if I'm not like a innovator? What if I don't really like disruptions? You think about it in its simplest form, wherever Taurus is in your birth chart is where you need to think of ways that you can do things differently. So if Uranus is in your 10th house, how can you approach your career and your public reputation in a way that feels innovative, in a way that feels fresh, in a way that is maybe balking tradition? And maybe that tradition is just the way that you were brought up to traditionally think about 9-to-5 career work. If Uranus is in your 7th house or Taurus is in your 7th house, Uranus is saying, hey, maybe we need to shake up what we value in partnerships. Maybe we need to shake up how we approach relationships, how we approach business dealings. So I've talked a little bit about Uranus in Taurus, but now I want to explore this transit a little bit more because it has really been shaking the foundations. Since 2018, Uranus has been storming through Taurus. It's been disrupting finances, disrupting stability, material comforts, personal values. I think this transit kind of coincides with bird flu because it also coincided with a little bit of that COVID-19. We saw a lot of, stuff happen with the economy and what we knew to be our creature comforts and Wall Street and all these things just sort of were, shaken like in a snow globe. And it's like, ha, 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 ha. I don't know who's laughing. Anyway, Taurus is a sign that craves stability, comfort, and predictability. Uranus, on the other hand, is the planet of, we know, upheaval, rebellion, disruption, and all things unpredictable. The thing I like to say with Uranus transits is you just want to expect the unexpected. So something might happen this way, chances are it's going to happen that way. When these two forces collide, we get the slow burn revolution of Uranus and Taurus, which has been going on since 2018 and will happen until July 2025. It goes back into Taurus in November. Anyway, this transit has already reshaped global finances. It's really reshaped technology, agriculture, and even our fundamental relationship with security. This is why we've seen major economic shifts. We've seen really big tech innovations and even the rise of that rebellious financial trend, otherwise known as crypto. It's like, okay, Taurus rules the financial sector. Taurus rules our relationship to the earth. It rules agriculture. I think climate change and the really larger swell of massive catastrophic impact coincides with this Uranus in Taurus transit because our relationship to the earth has really been shaken up. Now that Uranus is direct, we can expect another wave of breakthroughs, breakdowns, unexpected twists, especially in money, security, agriculture, personal freedom. Again, I harken back to bird flu. We're seeing that sort of play out. It's going to have an impact on the economy. It's already having an impact on the economy. Eggs are like $18 a dozen. I just want my scrambled eggs. What do I have to do for this? Anyway, I think these issues are going to come to a head when Uranus enters the anaretic degree, otherwise known as the 29th degree of Taurus. That happens in June and November of this year. That's why I think that this particular Uranus direct is such a big deal. Because Uranus is leaving Taurus in July. Okay, it's going to go back into Taurus in November. So it's going to be there November, December. It's going to head into that in 2026. But after that, no more Uranus in Taurus for another 84 years, something like that. So this is a really pivotal point for Taurus, for Leo, for Scorpio, for Aquarius, because it's been really destabilizing for these zodiac signs and really disruptive for the financial sectors, for agriculture, for everything that I talked about before. And that's collectively, right? We've been seeing this play out, getting somewhat worse and kind of feeling like, oh my God, when is it gonna settle? And on a personal level, Uranus Direct is a big deal as well, because this shift is about confronting where you've grown too comfortable, where you've grown stagnant. Because wherever Taurus is in your chart is where you like things to be comfortable, to be easy, to be even ritualistic, right? You have stability, you have security there. You like it easy, you like things kind of coming to you, and you don't like to have to mess things up because it's like, hey, that's where I've set things around and I had it this way and I don't want to change my mind about it. It's literally the last place you want disorder or innovation. So with Uranus, once again, moving forward through this part of your chart for the last time in, 84 years. Well, I say that technically it's not the very, very, very last time. This is like the second to last time Uranus will be direct in Taurus, but it's going to be moving through that anaretic degree, and that's a really big moment. So if you have a fixed sign placement at 29 degrees, you really want to pay attention to Uranus, because it's going to either square, oppose, or conjoin that part of your chart, and it's going to be really restless, frustrating, a moment of like, I gotta make a change. Because again, Uranus wants us to make changes. So with Uranus Direct, it's moving forward through Taurus. You want to ask yourself, where have you resisted necessary change? Where have you clung to familiarity out of fear of instability? Where have you felt like maybe you're stuck in a rut? Where have you felt stale or stagnant? Or where have you felt like you didn't have the courage, the bandwidth to make the necessary change you have to make in this part of your life? This direct motion marks the end to the luxury of waiting. So the changes you've sensed coming, or the changes you've been wanting to make, they are now knocking at the door. So what does this mean for you? Okay, it means breakthroughs and disruptions. What felt stuck or unclear since September 2024 is now moving forward. You can expect sudden insights, unexpected changes, external shifts that push you toward necessary evolution, which sounds really cool, but that's hard to do because we're human, and it's hard to just evolve. I think we're seeing that collectively. We're seeing that it's kind of hard for us to evolve. Another thing you can expect is restlessness and rebellion. So the urge to break free from restrictions, whether those are self-imposed, whether those they're external, that's going to be even stronger. So you want to pay attention to what feels kind of unbearable to maintain right now, what feels like a rut that you're stuck in, or a box that you're locked in, and where you're noticing like, I really want to do something else. I don't want to be a masseuse. I actually want to be a mime. That's an example of how it might be playing out for you. Financial and material shifts, I've talked about that, because Uranus is disruptive and Taurus rules money, security, resources, values. So we can definitely expect shakeups in financial matters, career paths, or long-term investments. I think we're going to see that more collectively. So I don't want you to immediately freak out and go, oh my God, I'm just going to lose all my money. No, we just don't want to be crazy with our investments, and we don't want to be wild with our cash. We're going to see something with tech and innovation, because Uranus actually governs technology, and its direct motion could signal major advancements, unexpected disruptions, or shifts in how we engage with digital spaces. We're going to see this really big playing out when Uranus enters Gemini, because Gemini is all about talk and communication and media and news, and Uranus being the planet of technology, something's going to shift in the digital space. But we're still talking about Uranus and Taurus. So the last thing you can expect is maybe some radical self-discovery. Uranus wants authenticity. So if you've been suppressing your true desires, the coming months may force you to embrace them, whether you're ready or not. That might mean you get bangs. That's mostly for me. because I've been thinking about getting bangs. I've also been thinking about getting a bob. And to me, as a Leo rising, both of those hair decisions are a big deal. All right, so final thoughts. The time for change. It's now. Uranus is the great awakener, and now that it's moving forward, the time for passivity, that's over. The structures that once felt secure may no longer serve you. I think we're seeing that play out culturally in the United States. Things are getting sort of shaken up. The day before we had Uranus station direct, we had this big thing where Trump was saying, okay, all the government funding for Meals on Wheels and Medicaid and Medicare is just being frozen. And then it was like, oh, guess what? Actually, no, it's not. Joke's on you guys. We were just messing around with that. So something with government funding for certain things might change too. But ultimately, the old ways of doing things, they're crumbling. And they are making way for something new. So you can either embrace the change and shape it yourself, or you can wait for Uranus to flip the table for you, which in my astrological opinion is not something you want to do, because that's not fun when it happens. Either way, the alarm clock has gone off and the choice is yours. You can hit snooze and wait for a bigger shakeup to just fall into your lap, or you get up and you step into the future that's calling you. So which one will you choose? If you want to know what Uranus Direct and the rest of 2025's crazy astrology has in store for you, get yourself a personalized 2025 astrology reading at cosmiccannibal.com, or better yet, check out the 2025 rising sign reading, which is an instant download, and it's a 15-minute overview on the astrology of the year ahead for your sign. Both of those readings are going to help you uncover your biggest opportunities, challenges, and cosmic shifts for your year ahead. And you can get them both at cosmiccannibal.com. And be sure to check out your Uranus Direct horoscope on my Substack, cosmiccannibal.substack.com, or click the link in the description. And it would help me so much if you shared this video with your friends who might want to know what Uranus Direct has in store for them. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your day, and goodbye for now.